Well guys, we just got back from our buddy Trent's. We had to go and pick up his Gilson. Look at that, it's an old one. Synchro balanced, 11 horse, eh? They make it sound like it's friggin' NASA stuff. This is like from the early 70s, I believe it is. He had a manual and everything with it. He says it just needs a tune-up and it needs all new belts. Let me see if I can get a shot for you guys. Back in here, see that? His belt at the back kept coming off. So that shouldn't be that bad of an issue. And he's had his deck welded and repaired, so it rotted out at some point. There's friggin' grease all over it. Definitely in need of a wash and a degrease. But yeah, I'll get this off the trailer and bring it to the back. Yeah, so this thing's not bad. It's an old one, but it's in real good condition for how old it is, and it's not completely rotted out. So like he said, just got to do belts, tune up, oil change, probably a carb clean, you know, just the same old. Well, we're just out here working on the Gilson. We washed it. We had to degrease it because there was a ton of grease all over the engine. After we washed it, we fired it up, let the oil get warm, and then now we're draining it. This one doesn't have a dipstick, so you can see we're just using a funnel with a clear tube. We're going to be putting 10W30 into it. We still got to take the deck off. We'll probably end up inspecting his deck, and we got to take that off anyways to change the drive belt. But we had the battery on charge last night just to top it off. Our customer was saying that he had to hold the choke to fire it up, but when we did it, after we washed it, mind you, it fired up fine. You shut the choke off and everything's fine. You don't have to actually hold it. So what I think happened was all this linkage here was because there was so much grease built up on it. It might have actually been holding his choke in the open position. So when he went to start it, you know, he wasn't able to choke it, and he had to actually hold it. But yeah, when we went to fire it right up, we haven't cleaned the carb or anything in it, and it fired up. Yeah, so we got this washed up, but I just got to take the deck off. Okay, so I got the deck off. It wasn't that hard. I just had to pull a couple cotter pins. There was a cotter pin back there. Oh yeah, this chain here, that chain, that sets your deck height. And yeah, I think that was it. And then the two at the front here, this little hanger, and then these just go through. Then you put a cotter pin on that. So the deck's off. I just use this little, it's like a patio chair thing. We got her just set up here on the concrete so it's nice flat level ground, because you want to make sure when you're putting a deck back on that you have your lawnmower on level ground. But this is the underside of it, and then there's your front hookups there, and I didn't even have to take off the belt guard. Belt just slipped right off. This is a 1970s model. Like I said, guys, this orange paint, that's all original paint. Look at this thing. You look at that Husqvarna snowblower, it's unbelievable. Paint's already stripping off of it. So your fuel tank and your battery are all at the front here. Like I said, we degreased the engine. Now I can hose this down. The deck belt is fine, but it's the drive belt that needs to be replaced. I figured a good time to talk about manuals. Customer had an original manual for the Gilson. You know, you flip into this stuff, you can see everything, all your part numbers, illustrated diagrams. This is what we're going to be changing right here. Way easier to show you guys on a manual than it is on the actual machine, because it's like upside down and whatnot. Yeah, his belt, as I showed you in the clip, it's slipping off here, and it's underneath the pulley here. A lot of times this spring falls off, guys, so you won't have the proper tension, and then you'll end up getting slack on your belt, and then you'll go to engage it and it'll just slip off, right? Basically, you know, your engine, you start up your engine, this pulley and that pulley, it's called the stack pulley. That's always spinning, right, with the revolutions of the engine. So you don't want your machine to be driving all the time. So they put this little idler pulley in here. When you engage your drive, those two pulleys go like this and put tension on the belt, right? And that tightens everything up, and it transfers power from your engine back to your transaxle. Now that the deck's off, we're going to be coming over here and grabbing our mow jack. So this thing lifts up the front of the machine. You know, your tires go in here. You take an impact to here. There's a threaded rod, and it lifts that up. So we'll lift up the machine and take a look at that drive belt. Like I said, you just lay that thing out, you roll your machine onto it. They give you a hand crank to tighten that up and to lift it, but it takes forever. So we just use an impact, works way better. So we'll get this thing jacked up. Also make sure when you're if you're using a mow jack, you want to chock your back wheels. That's these things right here, wheel chocks. Stick those in, your machine won't roll back. So now we got the new drive belt. We can get that onto the machine and finish up the Gilson, get that back to our customer. He's the same guy that's going to be buying the Husqvarna snowblower for his son, who's in the armed forces there out in New Brunswick. I think his son's going to be coming down. He'll load it into a truck and take it back with him when he goes. He says they got all kinds of snow up there still. So this is what we're looking at. Right there, that's the pulley system. And the belt come off, so this is the belt we got to replace. There's our spring right there. That goes over to our idler here. So it looks like the spring's good. It looks like his belt just kept slipping off. So I'll go ahead and probably pull one of these pulleys off so I can start pulling this belt off. Okay, so we're looking at traction belt and we're looking at replacement. The majority of the times we don't have a manual, so I just kind of look at what I have to remove and go ahead and remove it. We already got the deck off and everything, so we're on number 5 here. Disconnect shift rod from gear select lever, see circled illustration. So that's right there. So at the back of the mower, here's your shifter to your transaxle. So we're gonna remove the shift rod, pull out the cotter pin, and then that will allow us to get the belt off of the rear of the machine. Then it goes down to say, yeah, slip traction belt up, remove upper belt retainer. So that's going to be something like up here, I'm guessing. Retainer, either at the front or the back of the machine. Yeah, it's basically straightforward, but there's your steps there. So there's your shifter linkage right there, and you want to pop the cotter pin out. So now we can hopefully get the belt off of the back of this. Then we'll route it through. We're gonna have to loosen this up to get these retainers off. Again, loosen this up to get that retainer off too, and go ahead and pull that off. So if you guys want to see how one of these works, I'm just gonna use a ratchet here with a 9/16 socket on it, just to push it and give it a little bit of tension. So that's spring loaded back here. When you put your machine in neutral, it goes like this so that there's slack on your belt, and then you put your foot on the throttle and it tightens it up like that. So he was having an issue where it was slipping off either at the back or the front, but those are called keepers right here. And over there, there's one as well. Those little rods there, they keep the belt on the pulley. Yeah, this should be easy. I'm just taking it, like I said, 9/16. Gonna remove this so that I can pop the keepers off so that I can get the belt out. But yeah, so anyways, I took off the, like I said, I took off these little keepers here, just loosened it. I didn't take the pulley right off. And then you can kind of, push it in like this. But we got the belt hanging down here now. We're gonna go ahead and push it off the front and take that off. To do that, I'm probably gonna have to take these bar off. That's your keeper, right? So that keeps it onto the pulley. See that hole right there, boys? That's a 3/8 bolt that goes in there, and that goes to the rod right there. And then again, there's a 3/8 bolt on the other side that I'm pointing to, and we got to get this belt keeper off so that I can pull the belt down over top of this big pulley, and then we'll slip it out underneath of this the larger belt keeper, so we don't have to take that one off. So again, 3/8 bolt on each side, pop out that keeper bar, and then we'll be able to slip our belt out. Okay, so we got the keeper out. You can see I just slid it back this way. Go ahead and wrap your belt over top of the pulley just like this and pull it out here onto the one side, and then we'll pull it out of the frame here like so, and that's it. Sorry if the camera's a little shaky, guys, but I'm trying to do my best. And that's it. So that's it. Belt's off. It's starting to get chewed up, worn out on the edges. You can see it's starting to fray, but we got a brand new belt that we're gonna throw on there. That's it right there. Didn't take that long to take off. The deck had to come off, but we washed that. We took it out front. So here's the deck, and looks brand new. A little bit of wear onto it, but not bad. We just brought it out here to take the hose to it, just so that you don't get shit like your leaves and shit and dirt and mud stuck up in there, and then it retains moisture, and then it'll end up start rusting, right? So we don't want that. We washed it. We'll flip it upside down, probably scrape it, and then we'll end up undercoating it and sharpening the blades. Do a full tune-up on it. So to lift it down, it's got these little locks here, you can see, so that it doesn't collapse on you. So all you do is you put your foot up under here, and then you go the opposite way with your impact or whatever, your hand crank, and she lowers it down. Put your foot up underneath it. Now the higher your PSI, the faster this will go, but I don't like to max it out because, yeah, no good. Then once you get past the lockouts, you don't have to keep your foot up underneath it. I also forgot to add that these things are adjustable, so you know, depending on how wide of a machine you got, you can just widen up your holders there for your tires. Comes right out. But as you guys can see, it's starting to rain, so we're packing it in. Well, the rain completely ruined that. I was gonna get the belt on, but don't want to pull it into the garage because we're painting the rest of the Husqvarna and we don't really have that much room. So normally we don't leave machines outside other than that one because it's ours, but yeah, we got no room in our carport. That thing's filled, so basically she's just sitting here for now. We undercoated the deck, so we when we washed it yesterday, you know, we flipped it up underneath there, washed the top and the bottom. We sharpened the blades. You guys can see now they got a good cutting edge on them. We also undercoated it with a little bit of rust check. The deck shouldn't rust. He's had some issues where the deck's been patched and whatnot, but all in all, not bad. Not bad at all. So the deck's done. Deck belt was in good condition as well, so we didn't need to change that. Just the drive belt. Just looking here at the new belt compared to the old belt. You can see the wear on the old one and the weathering. Okay, so basically reverse of how we took it off. We're gonna take our belt like this. Make sure your cable here is on the inside like that. We're gonna wrap it up here. You want to go inside of that right there, that rail. Then you're gonna do the opposite of what we did to take it off. You're gonna come right up here, wrap that up under your big pulley, and then put it to the top. Then we can go ahead and slide that keeper back up top and bolt it on using the 3/8 bolts right there. And then as for the back, once you got the front done, just take that, wrap it through here, and then I'll show you how to do it onto the pulleys. Yeah, then you're gonna wanna run your belt. Once you have the back of your belt going up that way, you wanna run it to the inside of that pulley and then to the outside of this pulley. And to get it back there in the first place, remember we had to disconnect that shifter linkage right there? You're gonna go right there and you're gonna go up through that way, right to the back. Okay, now I've gone ahead and tightened up the nuts on our pulleys and the bolts there. Make sure that your keepers, your belt keepers, are in the same location as they were before. Now comes the tricky part if you're doing this by yourself, is you gotta get the belt wrapped around onto the pulley at the back. But right now, you can see that there's a lot of length taken out of the belt. So what we got to do is we got to push this pulley to give us enough slack to wrap it back. But it's spring loaded. So you can either get yourself something like a quick clamp, which I really don't recommend. Probably easier to have maybe somebody hold that. You know, I could hold this while somebody else wraps it around. You could tie a rope on it. You could probably disconnect the spring, but I don't want to have to do that. I'm gonna get my old man to hold this like that, and he can wrap the belt around the pulley at the back. Then we can go ahead, reconnect our shifter linkage with a new cotter pin. Never reuse old cotter pins. Again, we put a new retaining clip there, and then once all that's done, the last thing that I'll do is I'll go ahead and bolt up our keeper for the front. Okay, so now we got our belt on. You can see that there's nice tension. It's nice and tight. You want to make sure that your belt goes on the outside of that. I had it wrapped in, but that's just because we were running the belt through and that's just how it got caught up. So I just disconnected this, pulled this off, and then wrapped the belt around that way. So now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get that keeper on. Comes all the way through like this, through this little bracket to the inside of that pulley, to the outside of that one. You can see where my keepers are at. We went and put a new cotter pin on the shifter linkage, so that's all good. So yeah, I'll go ahead and get some 3/8 bolts onto there. Okay, we're ready to put the deck on. You got to remember that there's a chain, that's your hanger in your center of your machine, so I might end up grabbing a couple blocks like that maybe, just to set the deck up, because when this was on and the deck was in its lowest setting, this still had tension onto it. So when I popped that off, the deck dropped. So what we're gonna have to do is, again, set your deck to the lowest setting, and obviously I'm gonna have to drop this down and get the Mojack out of there and whatnot, but make sure your lawnmower's in its lowest setting. Then what we'll do is, like I said, I'll put some blocks underneath it, so I could go ahead and just put that on and pin it, and then we can go ahead and drop this down. Then we can get our pins at the front in with clips. Then we can you know, because that's what sets your forward and back position, right? This is just a hanger. That just sets your height. So this is what sets your left and right and forward and back. So that'll line us up. Then we could go ahead, get this linkage here. That's for your blade engage. And then go ahead and get the one at the back. And that's, by the looks of it, we got linkage coming back to here. That's just for your height. And that's it. 4 little connections. The 2 at the front, the 1 at the back, this one here, well, and then the 5th is the chain. I wanted to take this time to tell you that I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to fire it up because we did change the oil, so we got fresh oil into it. I'm going to take it for a spin, maybe just down the driveway or here in the backyard, go forward and back. I just want to make sure that the new belt that's on there doesn't slip off. Right, because that's the problem he was having, is the belt kept slipping off down there. So I want to run it before I put the deck on, because if I put the deck on and there's a problem, then we got to take the deck all the way back off again, and I don't like that kind. So I was going to go and take it for a spin, but all the tires were flat, so I had to put air in all of them. The back right here, the valve stem was leaking, so basically I just had to keep pressing it until it locked in. But I think he's got a slow leak on all 4 tires. Okay, we slid the deck under. You can see I got my mat here, so I'm not laying on the cold, damp concrete. We're gonna come up under here. See that chain? We're gonna hook our chain up. So you're gonna want to pull the pin that cable's attached to. Hook your chain up, and then put the pin back on. So you can see that I just put 2x4 on each side. Okay, so it's only lifted up 2 inches. That just gave me enough slack. See that? Gave me enough slack for my chain there. So now I gotta get my cable at the back there hooked up with this little guy and that clip. Go ahead and get that onto the other side where the linkage is for the blade engage. Okay, now comes this part where you're going to want to take that metal clip over your cable and attach it to the back there, and then we'll go ahead and put our bolt through with our cotter pin right there. Okay, we got our cotter pin in, so now I'm going to move on to that guy right over there. Okay, so now that we got that guy on with the clip, we'll go ahead and put the belt onto the front pulley, and then we'll hook up these guys right here with those pins up front. I screwed up, guys. I never ended up getting a clip of the Gilson running and driving and whatnot. I think it started raining and we ended up shutting it down for the night, and then we ended up going and delivering it to our buddy Trent there the next morning, and I never, I kind of spaced, never thought to get a clip of it. Yeah, sorry about that, but all in all, it ran good. Before I even put the deck on, I went and took it for a spin. I wanted to make sure that it drove and that the new belt didn't slip off. Yeah, other than that, it ran good, fired up. So the issue with him having to reach down to the engine every time he had to start it, basically what I think is that little bit of grease, a little bit of mud and dirt stuck onto that choke lever there, and wouldn't actually allow him to engage it when he throttled his machine up to the start position. So now all he does is throttle it up, hold the safety switch over to the start position, turns the key, fires right up. He can go ahead and throttle it down, and it ran great, it fired up great. He'll probably have to put some new fuel into it because it's been sitting for a while. So if you guys enjoyed the video, leave me a like, comment down below. If you guys got any questions, ask me. I'll try to get them answered. Maybe I'll even do like a video answer where I'll try to incorporate it into one of my videos. But if you guys enjoyed the video, leave me a like. Click here to subscribe. Click here for one of my latest videos. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.